It's 1990, and a super cool puppet named Alf got arrested on national television. The last thing the audience saw before the credits rolled was their favorite character surrounded by government agents about to be cut open. Just regular family sitcom shenaniganery. The final scene of NBC's Monday night hit ended with the credits rolling before anyone could process what they just watched. No resolution, no season 5, no goodbye. The weirdest part, nobody planned it that way. The episode itself is alright, I guess. Elf discovers a coded message from his old Melmacian friends Skip and Rhonda.
This message! It's in Melmacian code!
They've purchased a new planet and want him to join them.
They've been trying to contact me for days. Seems they bought a new planet, and they want me to join them in the beginning of a new Melmac.
This isn't even the first time they've offered. Back in Season 1, Skip and Rhonda swung by Earth to collect Elf, and he turned them down. He chose the Tanners over his only chance at a full-on Melmacian lifestyle. Now, years later, they're coming back. This time, Elf says yes. He says his goodbyes to the Tanners. Willie gives him a stick from the garage roof where he crash-landed.
Look, everybody! Willie gave me a stick!
Brian draws him a picture.
Here, I made this for you.
An original Brian Tanner.
Then Elf walks out into a field at midnight to meet his ride home. The government swoops in before the ship can land. The rescue spacecraft gets chased off. Elf is surrounded and taken by the alien task force, a shadowy government operation dedicated to capturing extraterrestrial life. The Tanners watch helplessly. Elf ran from 1986 to 1990. 4 seasons, 99 episodes, produced by Alien Productions for NBC. At its peak, in 1987 to 88, it finished 10th in the Nielsen ratings, an 18.8 household rating, meaning roughly 1 in 5 American homes with a television tuned in every Monday night. Kids had Elf lunchboxes, Elf dolls, Elf everything. There was an Elf board game, and, this is real, an Elf condom brand in Germany, which says something about the European market that probably doesn't need further examination. And none of it happens without Bernie Brillstein. Brillstein was the Hollywood manager behind Saturday Night Live and The Muppet Show, a guy who understood puppets and comedy better than almost anyone in the business. And he's the one who brought Paul Fusco and his puppet to NBC, convincing the network to take a chance on a show built around a hand puppet with a wisecracking voice and a taste for cats. Underneath the comedy, though, the show had a premise that was genuinely dark if you really thought about it. This guy, Gordon Shumway, was one of the last survivors of his entire planet. Melmac blew up. Everyone he'd ever known was gone, and he'd crash-landed in a stranger's garage with nowhere else to go. There was jokes about him trying to eat the family cat, and they actually had to tone down those jokes, because reportedly there was a child that put his cat in a microwave. Paul Fusco, the puppeteer behind Elf, later said kids were duplicating what Elf was doing. And some kid put his cat in a microwave because Elf tried to do that once. The set itself was its own kind of horror. The entire Tanner house was like Clockwork Orange, built on raised platforms with dozens of trapdoors cut into the floor so Fusco and his team could operate Elf from underneath. The cast spent 4 seasons navigating a grid of holes between takes, and they named some of those holes after the cast members who'd fallen into them. The cast was not having a good time. Max Wright, who played the family father Willie Tanner, was a classically trained Shakespearean actor. He was now playing straight man to a hand puppet for 20 to 25 hour shooting days, and it was breaking him. At some point during filming, he snapped and physically attacked Elf the puppet on set. Producers had to pull him off of it. Andrea Elson, who played the teenage daughter Lynn, she later said if Elf had gone 1 more year, everybody would have lost it. But none of that was what ended the show. What ended the show was a single business decision that no one told the cast about in advance. The finale, Consider Me Gone, was filmed as a season cliffhanger, not a series ender. Elf would be captured by the alien task force, setting up a dramatic 5th season that Paul Fusco already had mapped out. Elf as a captive on a military base, driving everybody crazy. That was a show they were building toward. NBC canceled it. Elf's ratings had plummeted from 10th to 39th in a single year. Brandon Tarkoff, I'm sure I'm pronouncing that wrong, the NBC entertainment chief who had championed Elf from the very beginning, who personally greenlit the show and believed in Fusco's vision, handed the Monday night PM slot to another project he was personally greenlighting, a show produced by Quincy Jones called The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. The same executive who put Elf on the air replaced him with Will Smith. There was no time to reshoot the finale, no time to add even a single line of dialogue. When Consider Me Gone first aired on March 24th, 1990, it literally ended with a "to be continued" caption on the screen. When the cancellation came through, the caption became unintentionally tragic. On the final night of filming, Max Wright did his last take, walked off the set without a word, went to his dressing room, got his bags, drove away, and disappeared. No goodbyes to the cast, no goodbyes to the crew. Ann Shaden, who played his wife, said years later, there were no goodbyes at all. For 6 years, nobody knew what happened to Elf. Then, in 1996, a TV movie called Project ALF aired on ABC. NBC had promised Fusco a wrap-up movie as a consolation, but in 1991, Tartikoff left for Paramount, and his successor quietly dropped that too. ABC eventually picked it up 6 years after the finale. The Tanners, the family Elf had lived with for 4 seasons, weren't in it. The film explained that they'd been placed in the Witness Protection Program and relocated to Iceland. They'd apparently turned down Manzombeek because they were unhappy with the education system. Fusco was there, none of the Tanners were. Critics hated it. Audiences barely showed up, and then Elf was gone again. Elf was around outside the show in various forms. There was the Elf animated series set on Melmac before the explosion, showing the world he'd lost. There was Elf Tales, an animated anthology where Elf retold classic fairy tales. And in 1990, animated Elf appeared alongside Bugs Bunny, Garfield, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and Smurfs in the cartoon All-Stars to the Rescue, the anti-drug special that aired simultaneously on every major US network. In 2004, TV Land gave Fusco a talk show. Ed McMahon, Johnny Carson's legendary sidekick, introduced each one with a "and now, here's Elf." Drew Carey, among others, showed up. A running joke was McMahon's own bewilderment at how he'd ended up there. It was eventually canceled, but I actually personally really enjoyed it. Now let's get back to the episode. In the finale, Elf surrounded in a field. A spotlight, government agents about to cut him open. The Tanners watch helplessly. That's not a sitcom ending. That's a horror ending. But here's the thing. That ending, the one nobody planned, the one that was supposed to be a cliffhanger and became a full stop, might be the reason Elf still lives in people's mind the way he does. A clean ending would have let him go. A rescue, a goodbye, a final wave from the spaceship window, and he would have joined the long list of shows that ended and were forgotten.